Section C, this time the question about coasts. We've got to say which is true and false about destructive and constructive waves. So just a reminder, destructive are the big, strong waves that happen in storm conditions, whereas constructive waves tend to happen in calmer conditions. So yes, they are more frequent, the wind is stronger, blowing, and then they're more frequent. Yes, they are steeper. And do they have a stronger swash than backwash? Well, no, because if the swash was stronger, it would be building the beach up, but it's not. Destructive waves are destroying the beach, so the backwash is stronger. Okay, so next question was all about mass movement. This is a new bit on the specification, so I'm thinking it might well be on the exam when it comes. We've got to describe two types, but if we look down, we've got 3 marks. So we know we're going to need to develop one of these statements. So we might start by talking about rockfalls. We might talk about the fact that they happen on steep cliffs that are composed of rocks, that when they fall, you're left with scree at the base of the cliff or the foot of the cliff, and that would actually be our development mark there. We might also talk about slumping that happens, and we can talk about that it's a rotational slump, that it often happens in clay cliffs when they get wet. So we often see a situation like this, where this is the slumped land. So we might talk about the toe that gets left here into the sea, or we might talk about the fact that we often have this angled top where we've still got the vegetation growing there. You might, and again, that would be our development points. Okay. Alternatively, you could also have talked about a landslide. This happens in saturated soils, and so it often happens after in the winter or after big storms. Again, that's your development mark. Okay. Bit of a nasty one, this one. We've got the picture and the diagram. Most people got X and Y really easily. Make sure that you call it an arch and not an arc. Okay, but Z was simply a cliff. 3 marks. Okay, we have got now our 6 marker question for this. Study this photograph, sea defences, rock armour there at B Sands. All eroding coastlines should be protected. So we're talking about sea defences, eroding coastlines, and whether they should be protected. To what extent do we agree? So command word, focus, content, structure. Command word, to what extent? So it's evaluate. So we already know what structure we're going to use on one hand and on the other hand. Focus, I don't want us to know everything about sea defences, but it's the idea of the should being protected. Now we know that in order to work out if something should be protected, you do a cost-benefit analysis. So what content are we going to put in here? Well, if we want to get up to level 3, we know that we're going to need some sort of place content, and we know that our example is Lyme Regis. Now, we know about sea defences, so it's quite likely that we're going to talk a little bit about hard and soft engineering somewhere in our answer. So let's, on one hand, coasts should be protected, but where? Where the benefits outweigh the costs. Okay, what's our example? Our example is Lyme Regis, okay, where we had the huge cost of a seawall and rock armour, just like in the picture at B Sands. Now, the benefits that this brings are that we protect homes and businesses in Lyme Regis. Okay, and because we're protecting that coast, We are also supporting the tourist industry, which makes money, provides jobs, and brings people to the area. You could, if you wanted, add a bit of complexity here with a however. Some people think that the seawall is ugly and that might affect their choice as to whether to go to Lyme Regis or not. So on the other hand, places where the costs outweigh the benefits should not be protected. Sorry, I've run out of space here. So our example again would be Lyme Regis. Okay, and we've got the area called the Cobb, and initially they thought that they were going to protect that, but when they looked at it, the cost of protecting it was too high for its value. So what value did it have? Well, it was a wild and rugged landscape, and it was continually battered by the sea. So it would have been really, really expensive to have protected it. And few people live there. There are some businesses there, but overall they felt that it wasn't worth protecting. So we've answered this question at a level 3. So let's have a look at it. 1 to 2, level 2, 3 to 4, level 3, 5 to 6. So let's have a look how we've got our level 3. Well, we've done some evaluating. Okay, on one hand. On the other hand, we've probably got 6 marks because we've added some complexity there with a however. We've used a place-specific information about Lyme Regis and the Cobb, and we have explained why it should or shouldn't be protected. Okay, so we've actually answered the question.